they were captured at such a young age. I mean, if you take Rok-tahk, for example, when she's in the mess hall, with the food replicator, she doesn't know any other food besides what she was fed on the prison colony. So I don't know. I know we're like, are we not jumping into the episode, into the details yet? But
go for it.
Okay. But I mean, I loved that detail into her backstory, because it gives us a little insight of, oh, this is a character that knows nothing but mining, for the diviner. She's obviously, or if she knew anything before that, she was obviously too young to remember it. She obviously doesn't know anything before of what she's known on the mining planet. So I feel like that was a nice little hint to some of the backstories, and to possibly like giving us a glimpse into how some of these prisoners might have been there for so long, and for such a majority of their lives they might not know much anything else.
That's what it seems like, and it did make me start thinking about this. Like, by the way, the diviner's first name is Inagata. So
Inagata Defeater. Sorry,
you got it. So
no.
But it did get me thinking a bit about what their backstories are, because when Rok-tahk didn't know anything else, I started thinking, oh yeah, why would we assume that they know anything? They might have been born there for all we know. Now, what Gwen said was that she assumed, or she thought, that they were all criminals, which I don't know if I buy that, because they're kids. They all seem to be kids, or maybe they are, what are they called? The unwanted, I think is
the unwanted.
They were referred to as. But then it got me thinking as to what the direction of this show, like how it would go. I was wondering, and I could be way off, and Bonnie, keep your poker face on.
I know nothing.
But it seems like a fun way to go would be if they either deliberately or accidentally start to stumble upon their homeworlds or their own stories, because we don't know any of their stories. Who knows if they know their stories? What if we see Rok-tahk's people? Because the reason I was thinking that was the Tellarite is an Alpha Quadrant thing, is an Alpha Quadrant alien, or Beta. I mean, but it's at least probably more, 70,000 light years away. So how the hell did he get way over here? And so, yeah, it just kind of got me wondering if we're going to find out more of their individual stories. I sure hope so, because it seems like they all have very interesting stories to tell, presumably.
And especially since we don't even know what species Dal is, like, and of course you're looking at, Gwen and the diviner character, like this is the first time we're seeing aliens of these kind as well. So I think it's just so interesting that it's kind of what I love about Star Trek Prodigy, is they took so much risk in creating new stories, new species, new, and placing it in the Delta Quadrant, I think, is also extremely smart, because yes, we saw a bit of the Delta Quadrant with Voyager, but there's so much that we don't know about that quadrant, and there's so much yet to discover. So it was so smart of them to place it in an area of space that is still, partially unknown to Trekkies, to us, to the viewers.
We also don't know Murph or Rok-tahk either. We don't know what
that's true.
We just know Sirach. Did Murph puke on what was the situation there? Like, is that his way of showing
what's going on with Murph at this point? Murph doesn't say anything, just pops up and jumps on the console and knows how to operate stuff all of a sudden. So Murph is still a mystery to me.
The only thing we know is his first name is Eddie. But go on.
Oh yeah. I don't know if I can top that. I don't know if I can even go on anymore, Ryan, after that one. That might have been the last one. No. No, as what I was watching, and there was a lot of mystery here, and obviously there's so much to unfold. So we're still like just getting in the water. I don't know how deep it is yet, and So the mysteries that are being unfolded are pretty good. With Gwen's character, I feel like there's goodness in her.
Yeah.
But it's like,
for sure.
right?
Just
feel
her
like
reaction with the Cation child, and making sure that the Cation wasn't, going, well, little good did that do, but just to make sure the Cation wasn't put into the mines, and keeping, the child with her kind of almost like in a protective way. You could just automatically see that she has goodness in her, and she, and how she reacted to the Kazon, saying, if you bring one to me this young again, I'll be putting you in the mines instead. Like, she obviously has a heart. It's just, it's a matter of, will she show it?
Mm-hmm.
Will she let her guard down?
And they kind of talked about it. They touched on it a little bit, because I really enjoyed the scene with Rok-tahk.
Rok-tahk.
Rok-tahk is something
Pop
else.
Rocks.
The Rok-tahk, Pop Rocks. No, when Rok-tahk was having that moment where she was saying, "Well, how come how come you didn't help us?" Right? She's like, she kind of confronts Gwen right there in a really heartbreaking type of serious way. And her defense was, "Well, I thought like you guys were criminals," or something to that effect, right? Like, I was told that you guys are criminals, and that allowed me to put this filter on and not see you in this kind of as much of a humane way as I should have, right? So I enjoyed that conversation. It was very, even for an animated show, I was like, it was an emotional scene. Those kinds of moments are emotional when you have to confront somebody and say, "Well, what was that all about? Like, why, why'd you leave me for dead? Like, you literally left me for dead, and like, don't you have a heart, or don't you care about, whether people live or die?"
It's all about,
I think,
I was going to say, it's all about that whole, phrase, "Don't judge a book by its cover" type of thing, where like you can see the parallels of, I love that kids are seeing this at such a young age, because, growing up with, if you look at our past with, our history with racism and war and, everything from like the Holocaust, it's all about, oh, well, I was told that these people are bad. And it's like, that's not how it is, that's it. So it's that same kind of parallel. Like, Gwen's like, "Oh, I was told this," and you're seeing a completely different side of, no, this is all wrong. And I just think, I love that they're writing stuff like this and doing it in such a subtle way that kids are going to be able to pick it up and, use it in life lessons later. I'm just so happy that the show exists.
Yeah, I think for my part, when I'm watching this, I think there's no doubt that, clearly Gwen is going to have her redemption. I don't think, I don't even know if it'll last an entire season. I mean, she's clearly going to be part of the crew and not, just a villain or a prisoner forever. She's going to prove her worth, but a lot of it is, like you're saying, it's this misunderstanding. She was fed, lies.
Fake news.
Right. And they in turn thought ill of her. And eventually, when the more they communicate, the more they work together, the more things get revealed. At some point, she's going to be, integral to defeating or getting away from her own father. I think that's what's going to slowly be set up. Or, my only question is, and this is the real mystery to me, is when she does prove her worth, and when they all realize, wait a second, you're not my enemy, this guy is. Who's going to be the captain? Because they've already kind of planted that seed to where. When she comes back, they might just be like, "So, if this is a vote, we might rather have her as our captain." I don't know what's going to happen there, but
she seems like more captain material. I think Dow had his chance in this one, and he couldn't get anything right. He literally turned the shields off. That's like
smart. Yeah, there was a tweet earlier today, that I saw of someone reacting to the show saying, diverting all power to impulse engines, it's like, oh no, you think the ship would know not to do that. I'm like, but there's the real test. You should have said, dispense all non-essential power to, I was like, you gotta be more specific. Have you ever watched an episode of Star Trek? You gotta word it just right. If you'd have said non-essential power, that would have kept, life support up the brig, little things like that. But, obviously like the food replicators didn't need power at the time. The holodeck, if there was like some random, stowaway playing, badminton on the holodeck, obviously that would not be needed.
I played badminton, really.
That was a deleted scene, I'm pretty sure. No. Going back to Murph really quick, you were talking about the happening. I would like to point this out. This is a Nickelodeon show, so technically Zero did get slimed, and I'm going to stick with that.
That's funny. I did think about
that. Is Nickelodeon canon? Yeah,
I do remember they like their slime.
You've been slimed.
Yeah. Sorry, Srock.
It's funny because I always wanted to be slimed as a kid. Yeah. Who never wanted to be slimed? But no, I think that the show definitely has like a whole bunch of. I mean, some things are predictable, like obviously, like we said about Gwen's redemption, it's inevitable. It looks like she's going to have that conversation with her father, or that battle, or whatever it's going to be. We know that's the case, and it was funny because when they took off in search of chasing down the ship. Now he's like, we got to find the ship, and the whole thing kind of like gets up and moves.
Yeah, that's cool.
This is a pretty big, like, it looks like the Borg almost, like a whole community or something inside of the ship, right?
It's big. Do you remember this is a throwback to the 80s. Do you remember Spaceballs, where the opening scene with the ship, where it just kept going on and on and on and on? That's kind of what it felt like to me. Like, it's so big and it's so massive. It's like, this is an entire like planet on a spaceship. It feels like, that's what it feels like to me. Yeah. I mean, obviously the mining colony, or the mining planet, was, I think it was some kind of, what's the word I'm looking for? Oh, yes, Tim Russ.
You mean Tim Russ's movie Spaceballs?
That's right. Comb the desert, Tim.
I didn't realize he was in there.
Yeah, he's the guy.
I should say
found shit.
Yeah, I should do like the Tuvok, comb the desert. Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you found anything, Tuvok?